I didn't think my friends of either party would react that way. I thought I surrounded myself with much better people that were much more moral and more caring.
We're going to talk later about how these young Trump voters viewed the Kirk assassination and its aftermath. But first, let's talk about how they view the president. 9 of the young swing state Trump voters we interviewed this month supported the president last November, but now disapprove of what his administration has done so far. Note that the other 5 approve of his actions. Let's start with why those 9 voted for the president in last year's election.
He has more established relationships. He also had a political background, and he had more conservative values than Kamala did.
It was mainly the Christian values thing, specifically pro-life.
It was mainly for I guess, the financial stance of the country.
Because he of both candidates aligned well with my Christian and personal values, as well as what was going on financially at the time.
It just felt like the lesser of two evils.
I didn't really know much about Kamala, and I felt I knew more about Trump and felt more confident in his financial ability.
I felt like the Kamala administration was more incompetent, not as much trust.
I think international legitimacy or empowerment that he established in his first term.
The two main thing was I found my cost of living increasing in the Biden administration. And then I also thought that Kamala Harris's points that she wanted to implement were very flip-floppy and not like legit or straightforward.
And here's why they now, on balance, say they disapprove. For some, as you'll hear, it's a close call.
I approve of how he's doing with the economy and things like that, but I don't approve of how certain situations are being handled with deportation. I don't feel like you could be pro-life for one thing, but not pro-life for a different. So that's just my opinion.
Same with her. Like, I approve on the economy stuff, but I disapprove when it comes to the way immigration is being handled on top of the war going on in Gaza currently.
Just kind of felt there's some issues that, he wasn't, or him and his administration wasn't too transparent on.
I'd say merely because of how the tariffs have been affecting us, and it also with the big beautiful bill. I mean, like, it makes me lose confidence in just the name of the bill, and also how he's been handling immigration.
I believe my trust in the administration has completely nosedived because of how he's mishandled things like immigration or the war.
I sort of lost my trust in the administration. I think his first term seemed to be a bit more transparent than this one. And I'm starting to lose my trust in sort of the decisions they're making and the paths they want to move forward on. It's more so the reasons they're making the choices they are. For example, tariffs. There was no information provided in relation to the reasoning behind the certain tariffs they're putting on countries.
I feel like the transparency as well is an issue, not just with tariffs, but also feeling like he switched positions when talking about the Epstein files, from saying it's a huge deal to saying that, oh, it's not really a big deal, to having a lot of weird questions.
For me, it was just the speed of tackling like immigration. I think that there would have been a more progressive and long-term solution than just immediately handling it the way aggressively as it was.
The handling of immigration and foreign affairs in general are just relationships with other countries.
In what is arguably good news for the president, only one respondent is so dissatisfied with his performance that she'd vote for Kamala Harris if she were handed a do-over in last year's election. Everybody else would stick with the president. Meanwhile, Democrats fare horribly with these voters. When asked what characteristics and traits best describe today's Democratic Party, this is what they said.
Others say unintelligent.
Opportunistic.
Tunnel vision.
Trivial.
Divisive.
Deceiving.
Chaotic.
I would say hateful.
I'd say crybabies.
Lazy.
I was gonna say ignorant.
Spiteful.
Let's pivot to discuss how these young Trump voters processed the assassination of Charlie Kirk. For some context, all but one had heard of Kirk before he was killed. 9 of 14 had listened to or read something from Kirk before he died. None was involved in Turning Point USA before the assassination, and none joined afterwards. 5 said Kirk's assassination deeply, profoundly affected them personally.
Just that, in a sense, I felt like I kind of knew him. I followed him pretty much from the start. Have, at least to my knowledge, have watched pretty much every video he's put out. Listened to most of his podcasts. And just the fact that, I mean, obviously it was something so unnecessary to happen that nobody deserves that to happen to them.
I'd say it's a little scary. It kind of instills fear. You see someone who is just peacefully speaking out, assassinated in broad daylight, and as someone who lives in a state where open carry or concealed carry is allowed on university campuses, it's a little scary.
Two of the reasons that just quick popped in my head was I graduated from college 3 years ago, and I never once, I guess, thought about that, possibly occurring. Like, I always thought, like, yeah, it could, but like, now that you actually hear about that, just for open discussion and just like, there's a lot of people I disagree with on daily, not even political, but I just don't think to take someone's life in that way just for having an opinion, at least not in America. I know other countries is different. I understand that, but I just find that insane.
Okay.
I think it's disturbing.
Yeah, I think in my prior profession, education, there's, communication's a big thing, whether it's difference of opinion, beliefs. So this affected me profoundly in the sense where not just the killing, but what he was killed for, and the perception of just saying what he stood for and just having dialogue with opposite ideologies and political opinions. So it just again come from the education background, seeing where it happened, what the reason allegedly was, it still was for something insignificant in a way where it's like he just was expressing his opinion.
It affected me very deeply because I immediately thought to myself that, not wishing this upon, but like the fact that Trump like had an attempt of assassination, and to me that felt like a whole different thing. But with Charlie Kirk, it felt like it was someone that was actually talking about what he believed in, going out of his way to talk to people, and then being assassinated for that. Seems like anyone could be just hurt over just talking about what they believe in.
6 respondents said they were surprised by how some of their friends reacted to the assassination.
I do have some friends that are Democrats, and so I had an idea that maybe they might have knew of him, but I just wasn't expecting the amount of hate that they had for him.
Being independent, I'm friends with both parties, so I was just blown away by how hateful people could be. Like, I don't think any human deserves that, especially around their children and family.
A couple people that were friends in university that I actively saw like rejoicing about his death, and I pretty much didn't stand for it, and I kind of called them out on that. And as of right now, we're not really friends.
I'd say specifically someone that used to be my roommate, still a friend. Not necessarily celebrated, but wasn't like at least a little upset or concerned for their own personal well-being after the fact.
I have a close friend who him and his family actually went to Arizona to go attend Charlie Kirk's funeral. And it kind of surprised me. I didn't realize they were that upset over it, because I didn't realize it was that important to them, but it was very important.
We next discussed free speech in the context of Kirk's assassination and the fallout that followed. For context, all but one respondent knew Jimmy Kimmel had been suspended by ABC after public comments from the FCC chairman. None were upset that ABC put Kimmel back on the air. 6 of the 14 thought it was right for the FCC to pressure ABC and explained it this way.
I don't think talk show hosts should talk about politics because somebody likes them, they'll listen to whatever they say. Somebody could have been a hardcore Republican, and because Kimmel said that, they'd be like, oh, I'm a Democrat now. Like, he doesn't like him, so I'm not gonna like him. So it's kind of like, I don't know how to word it. Like, taking him off the air would help everybody think on their own.
Well, I don't really think that Kimmel's remarks were really that good because, first off, he was saying about how they were leveraging his death to gain political advantage, and I don't think that people should really even say that no matter who it is, whether it's Democrat or Republicans, because, like, why would you not grieve someone's death regardless, because someone died in general? And so I think that they made the right call in him going a bit too far about that.
Well, first off, I feel like what he said was somewhat wrong in a sense. I don't think it's necessarily a push to convince people that the shooter was on their side, but more so it's kind of clear that it's not. But regardless of that, I do agree with the fact that it is too soon to be talking about that, and also to be using that as a way to make a joke or even a statement about it when it's not something along the lines of like remorse or anything like that is honestly just unprofessional.
Yeah, I definitely think he overstepped. I think it was insensitive and way too soon. And at the end of the day, he is just supposed to be an entertainer. He's not supposed to be creating, dividing conflicts at the dinner table after, people tune into his show.
None of the respondents said they had concerns about voicing their own political opinions. None think the federal government should target and prosecute Americans for saying hateful things about other Americans. None think the president should be able to pressure the corporate owners of news outlets to make them report only certain things the president is comfortable with. Meanwhile, only 2 respondents had heard prominent Republicans, like the president and the attorney general, say that hate speech is not protected by the First Amendment, and that the federal government should, quote, go after, unquote, Americans who engage in hate speech. 6, meanwhile, had heard prominent liberals say hate speech is a form of violence and should be banned. Let's finish up by talking about healthcare. Only 2 respondents say they trust the Trump administration to steer them in the right direction when it comes to their health. Why the mistrust?
I believe that there's still a lot of greed in all parties in the government. And so I'm not an expert at all the connections between like pharmaceuticals or the food brands or, the American Heart Association. Like, I believe that there's connections all throughout. So I'm just not going to trust really anybody that is profiting off of me to make my health decisions.
Okay, but what about the Trump administration? How are they profiting off of you?
Again, that's where my ignorance comes in because I don't know all of those connections. It's not personal, but it's because they are in that power position that I just have that theme of not trusting those people in power.
I think that it comes down to your own physical health and your own doctor. I don't think a government should be deciding how to keep you healthy or how to provide you the necessary care.
Ian, why don't you trust the government on health care?
Well, sometimes I think that like food could possibly be like deliberately made like that for like population control and stuff.
How do you mean population control? What are you talking about?
Well, I just feel like our life expectancy is going down, like it's not going up on average. And I think a lot of that could possibly be from food, alcohol consumption, drug abuse, tobacco.
Okay, but but I understand, why don't you trust the Trump administration to steer you in the right direction when it comes to your health?
Well, I wouldn't say Trump is necessarily in the greatest physical fitness. So, I mean, if you should be in a better example if you want to promote physical fitness to others, I guess, if that's your job, what you're trying to do.
Thanks for joining us again. Please forward this link to a friend.